Hello everyone. A very warm welcome to the Hindu newspaper Analysis Townhall. Today, September 13th, we are going to have a look at the following articles from the Hindu newspaper. First one, RTI shift to a right to deny information. The amendments made through the Digital Data Protection Act have diluted the RTI Act. Here we will see how the dilution has been done and what is going to be the impact. Second, property rights of tribal women. Here we will see various Supreme Court judgments and what are the issues why the tribal women have not got the property rights. Third, retail inflation data has been released. It is slightly above 2%, which is comfortable. Here we will see the differences between the WPI and CPI in detail. Fourth, social media a scam space. How various scams are happening on social media and what social media platforms are doing to remove those illegal accounts or to preventing those scams. Then the first women Prime Minister of Nepal recently, like yesterday only. Then SEBI recommendation to the government regarding relaxation for IPO rules for the large companies. We will see these articles. Let's start. Yes, RTI. What is the principle of the RTI? Why RTI was introduced? Basically, the basic principle in a democracy. What is the principle? That all the information which is held by the government, it inherently belongs to the citizen. All the information belongs to the citizen and government acts as a take care of the custodian of that information. Okay, this is the principle of the RTI. In RTI Act, information is to be made available when it is asked for. But there are certain exemptions also on the grounds like national sovereignty, or section 81J is there for the personal information. There are limits on the disclosure of the personal information of an individual. Let us analyze the issue. First of all, we will see what is the original section 81J of the RTI, then how it has been amended by the DPDP Act, that is Digital Data Protection Act. Then what are the implications of this? Originally in this act, the section personal information, the exemption has been provided. Okay, disclosure regarding personal information can be denied if it had no relation to public activity. If it is my personal relation and has no relation to the public activity, it need not to be disclosed. If it was an unwarranted invasion of privacy, because what is the principle? We have to maintain privacy versus the disclosure. Okay. Then next, unless larger public interest demanded the disclosure. Basically, all these things were written in the act in this section. There was one safeguard also, like what information can be given to the citizens and what cannot. If any information which cannot be denied to the parliament, that is the state government or the central government, then it cannot be denied to the citizen also. If it can be made available to the parliament, it needs to be available to the citizen also. So there is a perfect balance between the privacy and the transparency. Okay. Then also, if there are restrictions on RTI Act, the writer says, then they must be within the Article 19(2). These are the exemptions given in the Act only. Apart from them, if the government wants to put some other restriction, then they should not violate Article 19(2), which provides for the reasonable restriction on the free speech. Free speech involves right to information also. Okay, so on these grounds, only decency and morality are the relevant grounds where privacy is concerned. So this is the ground for the privacy. If privacy is breaching, no need to disclose the information. So therefore, only on the count of decency and morality, and information can be not allowed to get disclosed. What happens after that Act amendment? Basically, the definition of this has been shrinked to just 6 words. What has happened is, first of all, the personal information, no clear definition is given. Earlier, the grounds were given, all things were given, but now there is no definition of personal information. Even the personal information that is related to a person, obviously. Now, what is the meaning of this person? It can be natural person, that is my information, individual information only. But according to this act, person now will include not only the individuals, but the companies, firms, associations, even the state, which basically means we can deny any information regarding anything on the ground of personal information of the state, personal information of a company, association. Okay, so it has been made very expensive. It has been expanded. Okay, if this is applied, then everything becomes personal information only. Use this in your mains answer. It risks converting RTI, right to information, into right to deny information, RTI to RDI. So this is the context. This was the original section and this was the amended section. What are going to be the implications of this? First of all, under the Digital Data Protection Act, it carries heavy penalties if information is provided or that the personal information is provided, that is, the privacy is breached. On one hand, this act has to maintain or keep the privacy of the individual, but in order to keep the privacy, it has trespassed on the transparency. There's a fine of 250 crore if the violation happens. So there will be fear among the PIOs, that is public information officers, who disclose the information under RTI. They're likely to err, this is the important line, likely to err on the side of denial. We can use this for any question. For example, for 19.1, right to speech and expression, if there is a confusion regarding whether something should be allowed or not. Okay, if there's a confusion, then it is better in a democracy to err on the side of allowing. Let the speech allow. But here they will likely to err on the side of denial. That is, if they are confused between whether we should give the information or not, then they're likely to go towards the side of denial so that they can avoid the financial consequence. Second, facilitate corruption. Obviously, transparency and corruptions, they are like in contrast. If transparency is taken away, corruption will breed. So the new law removes citizens' ability to monitor government activities because anything can be now covered under the personal information. Okay, now anything can be held under the personal information. For example, like details. For example, Rajasthan government, what they do to remove the ghost employees or the ghost beneficiaries for the pension availment, they made the list of all the people who are eligible for the pension receivement. The list was made the public. So what happened is that the ghost employees now can be eliminated. But again, now this will become the personal information. It can also be stopped. So these are basically the examples how crucial information can be denied. Even it can come in between the policy implementation. Okay, larger public interest. This clause is still there. But how many PIOs will apply this clause because of the fear of this, or how they are basically how much they can weigh individual harms against public benefit? This is not possible for any individual to make decision regarding a disclosure of certain information can harm individual or the public benefit. So we have to create a balance. It is not possible for an individual to do this. So these are going to be the implications of the amended section. So what should be done? Citizens and media must raise awareness. Political parties must be held accountable in manifestos. Basically, pressure should be put on all the political parties that they should put it in their manifestos. When they come to the power, they will restore the original section so that transparency and disclosure information can be made. Public opinion must be mobilized. Okay. Treat this amendment as a fundamental attack on democracy, not just a technical legal change. Silence is the weakening of RTI and democracy. So this is about the RTI amendment, its policy impact. Second, property rights. Basically, there is a Supreme Court judgment in July in the case of Ramcharan and others versus Sukhram and others. The bench said that the exclusion of daughters in the ancestral property is a negation of their fundamental right to equality. Okay, basically recognizing the rights of the women in the land ownership. Okay, let's break down it into two parts. First one, what is the trend of the court's judgment on this, and then what is the core issue. Okay, judicial context. In 1996, there was a case, 𝐮𝐸𝐻𝐸 versus State of Bihar. What Supreme Court did? Here, she demanded for the family inheritance or the property rights. Okay, what happened in this case? Supreme Court basically refused. Supreme Court said जो customary law है आपका, custom, that is the law of the custom, that is custom जो आपका tribe का है, उसके according you are not eligible, okay, and that custom is right. Therefore, we are not going to strike down the provision of that customary law. So Supreme Court denied the property rights to the women. Okay, refused to strike down the exclusionary custom, fearing that it can create chaos in the society. Very subjective judgment. Basically, there are customs of the tribe. As per those customs, women are not allowed to have property rights. Supreme Court said these customs are right. No right for women for the property, because it can create chaos. So basically what happens is there are Schedule 5 areas. Schedule 5 areas in the Constitution. The tribes living there, the marriage, succession, inheritance, they all function according to the customs of that particular tribe. This is the constitutional safeguard provided to them, and the Supreme Court said these customs are right. But this position, as we discussed in the case, was changed in the case of Ramcharan and others versus Sukhram. Supreme Court equated the exclusion of daughters in ancestral property to a negation of their fundamental right to equality under Article 14. This is basically equality. Okay, so Supreme Court here said that they should be given the right. Similar position was held by the Jharkhand High Court in Prabha Minch versus Martha Eka case, where they upheld the inheritance right of women from the Oraon tribe in Jharkhand. Okay, they said there was no consistent custom which excluded women. Okay, consistently there was no custom. The proofs could not be proved, that the proofs were not made which can show that the women were excluded from property rights since long time. So on that ground, Jharkhand High Court given the inheritance right to the women. Similar position was held by the Supreme Court in Kamla Neti versus State Land Acquisition Officer case. Basically, the judicial trend is moving towards harmonizing tribal custom with constitutional guarantee of Article 14, that is equality and gender justice. The main issue here is the custom versus equality. Constitutionally, customary law will prevail in the Schedule 5 tribes. So the context is tribal communities in schedule area, Jharkhand, Odisha, Chhattisgarh. They are governed by customary laws in matters of marriage, succession and adoption. And these customs deny women inheritance in ancestral land. Okay, तो इसकी वजह से क्या issues create होते हैं? First of all, gender injustice. एग्रीकल्चर सेंसस का डेटा है 2015 and 16 का, only 16.7% of the ST women, scheduled tribe women, own land as compared to 83% man. मतलब 83% men have the land and 16.7% women have the land rights. Stark difference. Then communitarian land argument. One argument which the male give, that the land in the tribe is a community property. It is not individual. So that is why it does not make sense to make it in the name of the women. Let it be male. It doesn't even matter whether it's in the name of male or female. Why? Because it is the community property. But in practice, what happens is when a land is sold, if it is a community land, then the money should go to the Gram Sabha. But it rarely happens. The money goes to the member, the male member who dominates the particular family. So this communitarian land argument is also not valid. Then what is another argument given? The argument given is why the denial of women the property rights? Because they say that women often marry the non-tribal outside the tribes. So therefore the land will be gone out of their hand. Okay. So these are the arguments given. But the courts have held that, very important, customs must meet tests of antiquity, that it should be past long time से. Continuity, continuously होना चाहिए. Certainty, definitely. Reasonable होना चाहिए. And public policy, that is, it must meet these grounds. and all these discriminatory custom fail these tests. If pass nahi kar pate in test ko, that's why the Supreme Court has shown the transition from its earlier judgment of 1996. So what should be done? Basically the codification of tribal laws. This is the one step we should do, but it should not be on the, basically invasion should not be there on the privacy or the customs of the tribals. Codification of tribal law on lines of Hindus and Christian can help resolve the issue substantially, because in Hindu Succession Act women have the right to ancestral property. So this is the issue regarding the female tribes rights, that is the property rights of the women, tribal women's. Next, retail inflation data, 2.1% it has come consistently from the 9 months. It has been coming down. This month it increased from 1.55% to 2.1%. RBI needs to maintain the inflation between the band of 2 to 6%. It is there in the band. The data is released by the MOSPI, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. For us, the important thing is WPI and CPI. There are two measures to measure the inflation. That is the wholesale level by we can measure, or the consumer level by we can measure. Okay, what is the WPI? It basically measures the average change in prices of a fixed basket of good at the wholesale level, and it measures at the household, that is the retail level. Here only goods are included. Here goods and services both are included. This is the major difference. Okay, who releases it? It is released by Ministry of Commerce and Industry, that is Office of Economic Advisor. It is by the NSO under MOSPI. Base year 11-12-12. These are going to be revised very soon. Monthly the data is released. It includes only goods. It includes goods and services. Total items in the basket is 697. Primary article, fuel and power, manufacturing. Manufactured product had the highest share. While in CPI, food and beverages had the highest share of 45.86%. That is why when the food inflation is high, CPI is high. Here the food inflation has fallen to level of 0.05. That is, it has remained flat. Because of that, CPI has also like not increased too much. If the food inflation increases to 10%, it is likely to increase to 5 to 6%. Okay, and such question can come: what is the order of the weightage in the CPI basket? Food and beverage is highest. Second is the services, which includes transport and communication. In the order of transport and communication, higher than health, and health is higher than education. Then housing, fuel, and clothing. Okay, it does not include the indirect taxes. They are inclusive of the taxes paid by the consumer. This is basically the price which the consumer pay to buy the good. Next is scam space. Yes, recently case happened where a retired doctor, he invested 20 lakh rupees when he saw the video of the finance minister Nirmala Sitharaman, where she was endorsing an investment scheme. This video was deep fake. Basically एक deep fake video बनाई जिसमें finance minister was endorsing an investment scheme. Okay, so it highlights the issue of the scams which are happening on the social media space. Okay, so why it is happening? What are the reasons? First of all, they exploit the limited technical literacy. Technical literacy is limited in India, so they are exploiting it. Second, there are regulatory gaps in cryptocurrency trading. There is no proper regulation. It is neither allowed nor not allowed. It is not legal tender, but at the same time, taxes are imposed on the transactions. Next, the use of AI generated deepfakes. There is no regulation regarding that. Then limited response of social media platform. This is also one of the major reason. Also, the public awareness has not been there too much. It is still lacking, the public awareness. Most countries in the world, even India, they do not classify them as the same clarity as the conventional security. There is no proper clarification and rules regarding these. So what is the main issue is social media platforms. Basically what they want their users maximum time to spend. So they do not want to breach the privacy. Only then they will get the credibility. Okay. So to increase the user engagement, platforms prefer to avoid sustained monitoring that would involve intrusive scrutiny of the user uploads. So what should be done? three things suggested here. First of all, there should be standardization for the registration, disclosure, and cross-border cooperation, so that the fraudulent scheme, the space in which they operate, it can be limited. ऐसा नहीं है कि पूरे की पूरी जगह सब जगह they are operating. It can be limited so that they can be tracked. Second, technical literacy, we discussed earlier. Third, social media platforms should be required to remove fraudulent content proactively. They should remove it. In India, there is regulations regarding social media platforms where there should be a designated officer with the platforms who will in touch with the government. When government asks for deletion of any data, they should delete it. Okay, this is the scam which is happening on the social media. This is the factual information. Sushila Karki became the first women Prime Minister of Nepal. She was Chief Justice earlier, yes, 73-year-old former Chief Justice of Nepal. Issue in the Nepal was basically again related to social media only. What happens is the social media, they operate as per their own whims and fancies. Okay, they do not follow the regulations of the government. So government said, face the regulation. That is you have to follow the regulations. Regulations like a dedicated officer should be there, like who will be in touch with the government so that any information can be deleted, like we have in India. But the social media like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, they did not comply with the regulation. So the Nepal Prime Minister banned all the social media platforms. After that protest happened, we all know about this, and Prime Minister resigned. Then the new Prime Minister now has taken the oath. This is the context of the Nepal issue. Yes, one more news today. SEBI has asked the government to relax minimum public shareholding norms for large IPOs. What is this? मान लीजिए there is a company, say for example Reliance. Reliance is already listed on the stock market, stock exchange, but still take an example. For example, it is 1 lakh crore rupees is the worth. Now it wants to go public. Public का मतलब है it wants to get listed on the stock exchange. So they will apply for an IPO, initial public offer. What is the current rules? Current rules is that if the company is 1 lakh crore rupees, then at least 5,000 crore rupees worth of share should be made public. That is, they should be given to the public, that is the retail investors. Now the issue comes here, when the large issues are diluted, it is not possible for the companies to dilute this much of the shareholding. First one. Second, when this much shareholding is diluted, maybe the retail investor is not able to absorb this. If they are not able to absorb, the prices will fall. When the prices fall, the reputation of the company will go down. So the SEBI has proposed to the government that this should be reduced. In case of the companies with the capitalization of 50,000 rupees to 1 lakh crore, it has recommended that it should be 1,000 crore. Okay, so this is the news about the minimum public shareholding norms for the large IPOs. I'm attaching these notes in the comment box and the description box also. If you have any query, any doubt, you can ask in the comment box. I'll see you on Monday. Till then, good luck. Goodbye. Thank you.